Welcome to Gnostic Warrior Radio, broadcasting from GnosticWarrior.com in San Diego, California, around the world. Today we have someone that doesn't need an introduction, but he deserves one out of respect. A man that has touched many lives, myself, I've been watching him for years, learning a lot from him. I owe him a lot, and there's a lot of people out there that tune into his stuff all the time. His name is Jordan Maxwell. He's been in the occult research teacher field for the last 50 years, and on YouTube he's probably number one as far as the most views, the most wanted. Everybody wants to hear him talk, and it's an honor to have him on the other line today. How you doing, Jordan?
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Jordan, I want to let everybody know out there too. Your new website is JordanMaxwellShow.com, and that's very important. JordanMaxwellShow.com. The old website, please do not go to that website. That is JordanMaxwell.com. He's no longer involved with it. He makes nothing off of it, so please do not buy anything or visit that website. If you want to support Jordan, go to his website, JordanMaxwellShow.com. Buy his stuff, give him some donations. If you want to buy a book, get it through Jordan's little Amazon links and help him out and support his work.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, my original website, I may be getting it back soon because I'm going to court, and I've already got an attorney. I'm going to court. The people stole it from me. My website, my money, my products. They're even trying to trademark my name in Washington, D.C. And I've already copyrighted all of my books and videos. I tried to anyway, and like I said, trademarking my name. They've tried to do that too, but they're in trouble because they've signed a federal document saying that they own the name and that they developed and own the name. So they've already done some serious stuff, and and I'm taking them to court too. So. Eventually, I'm sure I will get my website back, but for the moment, JordanMaxwell.com, I don't have any control over, and any monies or any donations, anything going to that, I don't see for the past 2.5 years, nothing. So they stole it from me. But and so, like I said, yeah, that's if anybody would like to contact me, my information's right on the home page of my new website, JordanMaxwellShow.com. And thank you.
Yep, and definitely, Jordan. And I kind of researched it. I'm not going to go into it. I know you have some legal issues that you're going to handle, and I know you're going to get it back because I feel confident that it was stolen from you. I researched these guys behind it, and they just look like scumbags, and they took advantage of you. And I really hope and I pray that you get it back. And I know there's thousands of people out there that are feel the same. And go to JordanMaxwellShow.com. He's on Facebook as well now. There's a lot of likes he's getting. And give him some donations as well, $1, $10. It goes a long way when you're doing stuff like this, doing research and giving it away for free. So enough of all that. Let's get into some questions, Jordan. And I kind of wanted to just get a little bit of a background. Everybody, of course, is interested in your research, which is top-notch, but also Jordan the man. I've seen you for so many years on, all your videos on giving away knowledge, but never really got to know you. And this is actually my first real conversation. We've spoken on the phone briefly a couple times, but never really intimately a little bit. Can you share us a little bit about, how old you are, where you originally from, where you live now, and stuff like that, Jordan?
Sure. Excuse me. I'm 72 right now. I feel about 100. But I'm 72 right now, and I'm originally from Northwest Florida, Pensacola, Florida. which is incidentally the second largest naval air station in the world in Pensacola. And so I grew up around high-tech stuff, jets and military stuff, and I was about a mile where my home was about a mile from Gulf Breeze, Gulf Breeze, Florida, right below Pensacola. It's on a peninsula, but Gulf Breeze is famous the world over for UFOs and aliens and all kinds of strange occult things going on in Gulf Breeze. It has been since as a kid. There was all kinds of stuff going on around me with UFOs and aliens and all that kind of thing. So I grew up around it, never realizing, of course, that this is not the kind of lifestyle everybody lives. And so I never realized that, that I was being impacted by the other world, the occult world. And when I use the word occult, that simply means hidden. That's what the word actually means, is hidden. And so much of what's really going on in the world is hidden. And so I grew up around the military, UFOs, aliens, strange phenomena, and high-tech stuff.
And this was the 50s, 60s, and 70s, right at the start?
Yeah, I was born in 1940.
Okay.
And so about 10 years old in 1950, I'm finally waking up at 10 years old. And so the 50s were an incredible, time for America. And so I grew up in the 50s and 60s. And so I ended up coming to California in Los Angeles. I just decided that I had to come to Los Angeles for some reason. I don't know why. I just had to leave home and go to L.A. And so I crossed the country and ended up in Los Angeles in 1959 at 19 years old. And I ended up in Los Angeles downtown on a Friday night with $9 in my pocket. That's all I had, and I had no idea what I was doing, where I was. I just I ended up in L.A. And I ended up here with $9 in my pocket. I had no place to go. I don't know anybody. Never been here before. And so it was an extraordinary experience. I've had so many otherworld experiences at home growing up, as I said, and then I really started having off-the-wall experiences here in L.A. at 19 years old. And so I really got interested. I got settled pretty quickly. There again, I'm sure that I had cosmic companionship protecting me, because as dangerous as it was, 19 with no money and no family, nothing. It was on my own. I had no idea what I was doing. But at 19, you live through all of that, and so. But I met a girlfriend. I met a girl, and I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but I've told it so many times. But have you ever heard the story I've told about my girlfriend I met in 1959 when I first got out here?
Actually, I haven't. If you want to just briefly touch on it, you can.
Well, I mean, basically, boil it all down to she invited me to meet her father. When I did, he blew my mind, and it's like a bullet ricochet off a rock. I thought I was doing one thing in life, and after talking to him one night, it just blew my mind. It was the most extraordinary experience of all the strange experiences I've had in my life up till then. He was the crescendo. And so he started me on a journey looking into the world of the occult and UFOs and aliens big time. I was already interested in all that stuff to start with, but he really focused me on it and changed my life overnight. Well, after that, all kinds of incredibly otherworld, as the term I use, otherworld experiences started happening to me, very, very pronounced. Seeing entities in my bedroom and having things happen to me from day to day with strange occurrences which were not of this world. So I began realizing that something is targeting me because I'm having way too many of these paranormal otherworld experiences. And it finally occurred to me that I have something to do, and it's not because I'm so damn special. It's because it's just because that's the way life worked out. I mean, I was always interested in this kind of strange phenomena and UFOs and aliens, but then I got interested in the concept of secret societies and occult orders and ancient religions, and my God, that was fascinating to me. All the dark stuff that's been going on in the world, from child sacrifice, human sacrifice, and rituals, and political societies, and war, and violence, and religions. And I just got just enmeshed in all of it, and it occupied every awaking moment of my life from the time I was 19 on. Reading, studying. I lived at libraries, and later on I started going to UCLA daily, USC, County USC, all the big libraries, and especially the religious or the seminary libraries, going into...
No internet back then,
of
course,
internet,
audience.
No internet. I was doing it all on foot, and
wow.
and spending, that's why I was always broke, because I was trying to, work enough to pay for my for a living, but I was spending all my time and money and everything I could get in UCLA, photocopying documents, writing letters to corporations, calling and doing research with. I mean, I used to contact in letters alone, 15 to 20 a week. I would send out to different research organizations, societies, cults and movements around the world, especially governments. I'd write to the Russian government, the Chinese government, to the Knights Templars in Europe. I'd write letters continually, and then go to the libraries and go into the stacks and all the thousands and countless millions of books at UCLA and USC, and so I just lived in libraries all day and all night until they closed up at 1 o'clock in the morning, asked me to leave. And so I lived in libraries, reading and studying and questioning everything. But also I was contacting, in between all of that, all the writers, lecturers, teachers, all kinds of interesting people that were doing, writing books that I was interested in. And eventually, I've been all over the world now, talking to audiences about the occult world, the hidden world of mysteries and strange things happening. And it's been one hell of a ride. I'm telling you, at 72 years old, I'm just amazed at what's really going on this earth, that people are just too busy to even see, but it's right here in front of you. Extraordinary things. And so I've said so many times that I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything, but what I bring to the table is the fact that I've met so many important people and learned so much from other people who are experts. I'm not an expert on anything, but I've been in the company of just incredible amount of people that know and do things that would blow your mind if you knew about these people. But they're,
yeah, you're a humble man, Jordan. I consider you definitely a wise man and a sage and an adept, and you're along the lines, even though you might not portray yourself as that, but we look up to you. Some of us out here in the research field is almost like a Manley Hall, but we know, again, Manley P. Hall was
a dear friend of mine. He was my dear friend.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. You were acquaintance with him.
Yep.
For several years?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we were very close friends, and when Mr. Hall passed away, I was down in San Diego. I was a religion editor for the Truth Seeker Company in their magazine and books, and I was heading their publishing too. And when Mr. Hall passed away, I got a phone call from Obadiah Harris, the president of PRS, Philosophical Research Society University, that Mr. Hall owned. and he was the president at the time, and he said, Mr. Hall's gone, and he said, Mr. Hall wanted you to have something. He had a gift for you to give you after he passed, and so since he's gone, I can call you now and give it to you. And I said, what is it, Obadiah? And he said, no, just come get it. Well, I left that day immediately because I figured any time a master teacher, and a world-famous man leaves me something, I want to go see it immediately. And he left me all of his research journals, all of his work that he had collected over his lifetime were put into research, and he left them all to me. And I was amazed and shocked at that. I thought, where in the world would I come off with being the recipient of the master's work? He left it to me, all of his research journals. And of course, there's no price you can put on that. There are other sets of those research journals, but they're very, very scarce, and they're not available, period. I mean, collectors have them anywhere. They are highly, highly prized. The complete works of Manley Palmer Hall, and he left it to me.
Yeah, Jordan, I want to compound on that and say that wisdom and teachings, that is the most prized of the elite and the wise sages for thousands of years. Books, teachings have been the most prized possessions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt about it.
More than gold, more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Knowledge is power. And
knowledge is power, and sometimes it's life or death.
That's right. And that's why powerful men, multi-millionaires and billionaires will pay big money to get information. I mean, all the governments of the world have CIAs and FBIs and intelligence organizations, and these people are not playing games. They are serious. When CIA is looking for something, people will die in the process. They don't want to believe anything. They want to know, and they have spies everywhere photocopying documents. They want to know what's really going on.
And there's a lot of people on the internet that just don't get it, and they play with the fire, and they think it's a big joke, and this is a game, and a lot of the shills and people out there, and they need to understand this is serious business. And I know you've said it several times, Jordan, that you've done research and you found out things that you cannot talk about and reveal because you know that there's bigger powers at play. And if you come across something that might put a dent in something or reveal something that puts either lives in danger, the government's plans in danger, or reveals them, they're going to do what they need to do to take you out.
That's exactly right. Hey, it's just business. It's the business of government.
And it's been like that for thousands and thousands of years, correct, Jordan?
You can bet on it. You mess with the king and the court of the king and whatever the king is doing with his private court that they're planning on doing politically, and you go to the world and tell what the king is doing, you already know what you're going to get. And
I think this is the first time in history. Do you agree, Jordan, where it's actually there's a lot of people on a mass scale voicing their opinion, and a lot of it is borderline. Probably a few hundred years ago, they would have got their heads chopped off and put on, just for the words they say. And I'm literally every day, millions of people let it be making images of the commander in chief, and stuff like that. You do that 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you would have been killed.
You would have been arrested and put on the gallows and your head chopped off, or you would have been hung. No doubt about that. You make one comment about the king or the ruler in your country, and you're a dead man. No place to run.
Why do they allow that now, Jordan?
Well, that's because America has a constitution. It's the only country in the world that's ever existed that has an actual constitution that guarantees its people the right to be free to speak and to have the right to speak and be unmolested. There's never been in the history of the human race for at least 10,000 years I know of, no nation has ever had an actual written document, constitution that says our people ought to be protected and their free speech is to be protected, and and you cannot harm them for what they say. Of course, now is different. Now that America is no longer American, it's no longer in the hands of Americans. There's a big difference now, but they still make even the people who have taken over our government, and it's no longer the America that the founding fathers started, and it's no longer the America I grew up in. I mean, I grew up in a time in America in the 50s and 60s when we were free. We didn't know that what the conspirators planning our demise during the 50s and 60s. We didn't know that there were people who hated our country, who were here in our country working against us to destroy our republic. We were innocent. We didn't know. And we were depending on the FBI and CIA and all those people to protect our country and our freedoms. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And so today, we still have a modicum of free speech, but I've been told by people high up in the military, and CIA types in the military, the reason why you still have a modicum of free speech and allowed to talk on radio and all that kind of thing is because we want to monitor the American people to see what they're thinking. So we want to hear radio talk shows and listen to the people who call in the radio talk shows, because that tells us how smart Americans aren't. It shows us, what they're thinking, and so it's kind of like keeping a finger on the pulse of America. Just listen to them. Still, if you're in the FBI or CIA or NSA, National Security Administration, you have whole divisions of people employed to sit and listen to radio, to read books, to read magazines, articles. That's what they do for a living for the NSA, National Security Administration. They have, it's called C2 reports, and these people 24 hours a day are reading everything, listening to everything, watching all the videos. That's what they do for the government, and the reason why is they want to know how much does the world know, what are they aware of, and who are the talkers, who are the people who are waking the people up. We want to know who they are. We want to know what are they talking about, what are they telling the people, and if they know something that's really important, we need to deal with that right now, immediately. And so that's why that's why I'm very much aware and very much I am extremely afraid of my government, extremely.
And this isn't
I live in fear.
This isn't something you would have said 20 years ago, possibly.
No, I live in fear of my government. I'm frightened to death because I know what it's capable of doing. I know it too well. I've had.
So we're already in a new world order.
Well, I've had high-ranking government people, talking to me. They meet me in the most incredible places. They coming out of a restaurant and something at 2 o'clock in the morning, and met by a couple of guys in suits, explain to me who they are, what I'm doing, what they're doing, and they're just warning you. You better keep your mouth shut. We're listening to you. We're monitoring everything you do, where you go. So you better watch your mouth because we don't have anything personally against you, but business is business. And if they tell us to deal with you, we will. And I said, well, what am I going to go to jail for? They said, we'll figure something out. All we have to do is decide if we want you in prison for 30 years. We'll put you there. Don't worry. We'll figure something out. We'll plant something on you or do something, but just know if we want you in prison, you'll be there. Well, I take it a step further, and if we want you shut up forever, that's easy. We're doing it all the day, all the time. So I'm not interested in at 72 years old being tortured and taken somewhere and blindfolded and have your hands cut off, your fingers cut off, or tortured. I'm smart enough to know what's going on, and so that's why I'm saying I just want to stick with what my first love was the occult and religion and that kind of thing. But I'm telling you, this is just my own subjective opinion. But I think what's going on here on the world scene, could be wrong, it's just my opinion. I think what's going on is that there is, in fact, some kind of a legitimate alien presence that's going to make itself shown soon. It's going to make itself present on the earth. It's already here, like Steven Spielberg, because I've lived here in Hollywood for 53 years. I know what's going on in the Hollywood, the arena of Hollywood. But Steven Spielberg, for instance, in his last movie, War of the Worlds, the title was War of the Worlds. The subtitle is, they're not coming, they're already here. And there's no doubt in my mind, because I've heard too many stories from very highly placed people in government, in science, in the motion picture industry, in industry. I have talked to highly placed people in the U.S. government, far higher than you would think I could get. And I have sat and talked with them, and there's no doubt in my mind they know, and the people who are running the planet know, that there is legitimately extraterrestrial life here, and they, whoever they are, and from wherever they have come, they are superior to us, and we know it. And they know we know it. And so we are attempting to make some kind of a friendship with people that you can't beat. And since you can't beat them, you might as well, try and sue for peace and make some arrangements. And so I think that it's just my gut feeling that I think we're going to see some kind of an alien invasion soon. And I know I've heard all the stories about how a lot of people think, well, it's going to be a fake one, and the government's going to fake it so it will scare us all, and then we'll have to join the New World Order and all that. I've heard all of that for years. I'm of the opinion that it very well might be real. And if it's very well real alien invasion, well, I can tell you it's already started. But like any other invasion, the first people in, the first troops in, are not going to be, they're not going to, be coming in with a band and waking everybody up. They've got subversives that come in quietly at night, preparing for the overthrow. And so I think that's what's happening. We've had for, I don't know, maybe the last 60 to 100 years, alien presence very, very pronounced in your face here, but in such a way that the people are not aware of it. But the guys at the top of the food chain, at the very top, they are aware of it. You can bet on it. And
it has to be like that. I've had my own experiences. I wasn't taken in a spaceship, but weird experiences where a being had came up to me and I just couldn't move, and there was a shape there, and
that's right.
I was asleep as a kid, and there was one time I was walking to get my mom a beer, and I was like pulled down under this table, and literally it feels like 3 seconds, it kind of zapped the energy out of me and it was gone.
Yep.
And it like scared the shit out of me for the rest of my life as a kid. I would before I would go in that room, I would have to turn the light on every time. But and then you realize that we're just the planet Earth, and there's millions of planets like ours, and
it's estimated there's 10 million just in our galaxy, and logic alone would tell you that that if you developed here, whatever the hell we are, if humans are here, and we are somebody else's test tube experiment, because humans don't just evolve. That's stupidity on the face of it. The whole concept of evolution is ludicrous on the face of it.
And just looking at the different races, we're all different races and beings. A lot of us seem to be hybrids of different races together now, but at one time that wasn't the case. We actually were separate and distinctly separate species of people at one time.
Yeah, I know.
And then now we're kind of all, it seems like they might have been part of that. Maybe those aliens that you're speaking of, possibly an invasion, are part of that original, the hybrid
Yeah,
of
look
humans.
at when I was back in the 1960s, when I was 20 and 21 years old, and doing all this research on my own. I came across a rabbi who was a very high-ranking rabbi in America who'd written some books on secret societies and fraternal orders in Judaism, and fascinating book, fascinating man. But he was a high-ranking, well-respected rabbi, and so I call and talk with him for hours back in the 60s, and he taught me so much that and we're talking a long time ago, and I never forgot all of the devastating things he was telling me. We hit it off immediately. First time I talked with him, it was like meeting an old friend, and we sat and talked for hours, and it was him that told me. He said, nowhere in the Old Testament of the Bible, nowhere does it say God created man. And I said, Rabbi, I've always believed that, the Scripture says that God created us. He said, no, it doesn't say that. That's what you believe. I don't care what you believe. But in fact, where can you show me in the Scriptures in the Old Testament that God created man? It doesn't say that. He said, go back and read it correctly. It's like... it's a misunderstanding. You didn't read it correctly. And he said, first of all, Genesis 1:1 is mistranslated in the Gentile world. It's mistranslated. In the King James, for instance, it says, in all English-speaking Bibles, it says Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And he said, but that's not what it says in the original text. Because God in Hebrew is spelled E-L. El is God in Hebrew. But in Genesis 1:1, it does not say in the beginning El created the heavens and the earth. It doesn't say that. It says in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth. That's different from El.
That's in the Old Testament?
That's in the Old Testament, Genesis 1. Very first sentence, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, is a mistranslation. That's not what it says. It's what it says in English. The guys who translated the King James Bible were experts on the King's English, but they didn't know that much about Hebrew and Greek back then. Now that we know more about Hebrew and Greek, we know that El is Hebrew for God. Elohim is not. Elohim is a plural, like putting an S on the end of the word car, becomes cars more than one. Well, Elohim in this instance is a plural to El, so the word Elohim means gods, more than one. And so the rabbi told me, so to read it correctly, it should be in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth. And then that would explain, he said, as Genesis 1:28, when God is creating man and woman, or Adam and Eve, it says, and the gods said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. And he said to me, that is the scripture that so many point to show that God has created Adam and Eve. No, no, no. Go back and read it correctly. It says, come, let us make man. Well, first of all, who is us? Why are you asking for a collected opinion? If there's only one God, then God did it. But no, God is saying, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Rabbi told me it's not God making man, it's the gods are saying, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Not make man, let's remake him. Let's intervene in his normal natural evolution, crossbreed with him, put some of our DNA into one of the females, and let's see what she gives birth to. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And then later on, after she gives birth to something called Adam, man in Hebrew is ISH. It's pronounced Ishi. ISH is man in Hebrew. But that's not what the Bible says in Genesis 1:28, when it says, and God created man, saying, and the God said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And therefore they gave birth to the first Adam, A-D-M, not Adam. We added an A in it and make it a male name. That's not Adam. Go back and read the original Hebrew. It says that man was already here. Somebody, some bodies came here and said, let us make man in our image. Let us make Ishi, I-S-H, in our image, after our likeness. And then after that happened, she gave birth. It gave us an Adam, A-D-M in Hebrew, means something. And so the new creation was called Adam, meaning a totally different kind of creature. So man was already here. And so, we are
a result of that. Gotcha.
We are a new kind of
part
creature.
Alien. And who knows what we were before? Could have been the Neanderthal man.
That's right.
You know,
Neanderthal man, Cro-Magnon man, whatever these creatures were, they're called hominids. And all scientists around the world agree that there were hominids, there were ancient, what we call, popularly think of as cavemen, but there were hominid creatures that looked like us, walked upright, etc., but they're not like us. We are far, far different from them. Our minds are different, our brain cavities are different, but, so we're different from them. But, while they were just animal-like hominids, we are having the ability to go to the stars, to write beautiful music, to invent televisions and high-tech stuff. Where did we come from? We know all the animals of the world, but where in the hell did we come from in our modern-day state? Well, that's what the Scripture says. Somebody came here and said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So that's why there's part of us is of them in the stars, and the other parts, the hominid creatures, and so that's why there's an animalistic part of us, and there's a spiritual part of us. And
And this is the end of the experiment that you're seeing now. At the end of
I think they're getting
all the research.
Well, I think what they're getting, whoever did this, I think they're still here, and they're getting ready to mutate the experiment again. They're getting ready to do something with the human race again. They're going to mutate
the new
us.
Adam.
And from an Adam, A-D-M in Hebrew, from an Adam to something else. I don't know what they've got in mind for us, but they're going to do something with the whole human race, and I see it happening.
When you said that, what really came to mind right away was the ceremonies at the Olympics. I don't know if you had seen any video footage of that when they had all the babies and everything, and they brought out probably hundreds of babies in a ritual, and there was a large, huge baby head, and they had a big phoenix behind it, and then they had a bunch of like dancer kind of people, but they were just dressed as doctors with baby carriages.
Wow.
So that to me was a signal that just correlates with what you're saying now with the new Adam,
right,
or whoever that's going to be Adam too.
And the phoenix represented the rise of a new culture. The phoenix dies, and then he's risen, he's born again. The phoenix comes from the ashes of the old and comes into the new. So a phoenix represents the burning of the ashes of an old order, and then the coming of the phoenix represents the coming of a new order in the world, a new world order. And what is that? We're talking about babies. So whoever these entities are who have created us, it wouldn't be a bit surprising to me that what they're planning on doing is creating a new kind of civilization, a new kind of human, where we will no longer be the same kind of creature ever again. We're no longer going to have the humanity.
Theorize. So let's theorize on this, Jordan. There's you see the old teachings of Plato and of course the Freemasons. The end goal was hopefully to have a utopian society someday where we all could freely manage ourselves and freely get information and have little government. So is the goal to have the dumbass slave that just goes to their job and doesn't question anything, or is the goal to have that perfect atom that doesn't really need to be managed, that does the work because it's a community and we all love each other, and he doesn't hate that neighbor because he's of a different race, or that guy because he hates the Cowboys?
Yep.
What are they going to
Well,
create?
I think what's happened is that, you know, as well as I do, this happens in life all the time. You may have one gang doing something, but a new gang moves into town. And now the new gang comes into town. They're gonna open up business. Well, you can't do that. You know, the guys from the east side are moving into the west side, or the guys from Cicero in Illinois has moved into downtown Illinois, and now you're going to have bloodshed in the street because of you crossing over into other gangs' territory. Well, the same thing could be true said for the earth. Maybe whoever it was that came here saw the indigenous creatures that we call man, Ishi, and then created a new kind of man called Adam, which are the human, and so maybe there are other gods out there, alien gods from out there. My God, obviously there are, but some of them may have come here and took a look around and said, "Hey, I like what you got going here. I think we're going to come in and move in." And instead of instead of doing with this kindergarten children that you've got going here with this beautiful earth and these beautiful women and this beautiful creation you've got here, I think we're going to move in, and we're interested to move in. And so therefore, now we've got some alien deities come here, and they are the ones that are now trying to destroy us and rip us off and destroy the creation. And so it's like a gang coming in and taking over a town, and everything that was good and was working is now in the hands of the gangs, and they've moved into town. Now they're going to now.
We built the empire
so
for them.
now we, as the children in the kindergarten, we're just little children. We don't understand that there are some very powerful entities from other worlds who have come here, and they saw us, and they began to look at the women and begin to look at the beauty of this place, and they said, "I think we're just going to stay here. Why don't we move in?" And so now you've got something called Star Wars, wars in the heavens between the entities, between the gods. Well, all of that the Greeks knew. The Greeks talked about the gods and the wars of the gods between gods and men. And Zechariah Sitchin wrote a book on the subject, and I was in business with Zechariah Sitchin. I sent him to different countries, and so I was in business with him. I used to sit and talk with him for hours on this subject, along with all kinds of other researchers and writers and people in the field. So I've heard all the stories. I think what's really going on here is whoever created us had in mind a particularly beautiful idea of creating humans, and maybe keeping us ignorant so that we don't get too uppity. But I think that also at the same time we've got entities who have come here, because obviously more than one out there. They've come here and looked at what's going on, and they moved in. And so now there's all kinds of incredible dark stuff that's not even human that's happening to us. And now they're sucking humans into these secret societies, giving them powers that they would not normally have. But all the time, the humans are thinking how clever they are. They've got money now, and they've got all these political pull and powers with the powers that be. And so humans get sucked into this, never realizing, the guy who's been giving you money and helping you get your business started and was taking care of you, now you find out he's mafia. He's not your friend. He bought you. He set you up, and you needed help, or he came in and helped you, and he came in and financed you and treated you and your family great, and now you find out who he really is. Well, that's what's happening, I think, on the earth. The human race is going to find out that the people who are running your government, the people who are running your religion, the people who are the high-ups in your particular faith in Islam or Judaism, Christianity, in your governments, in your learning institutions, they're not your friends. They have set you up. You were supposed to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and honor your Creator and honor the universe and be what you were designed to be, like the animals. We have books called Born Free. Well, we were born free. We were sovereigns when we were born. We came into this world not because of government, but because God gave us our life. Whoever it was that created us gave us the ability to come into this world, be on our own feet, do our own thing, and be free to grow and to be what the gods wanted us to be. Well, now, as it turns out, the whole entire world has been put under arrest. We're now under what is called arrested development. Nobody can do anything. You can't talk. You can't do anything. You better watch your mouth. You're going to prison. You better be in compliance. The cops will knock on your door. You better get a permit. You better get a license. You better get an okay from the government. So, you can't even get married. You can't even hang out with a woman. You got to get a license. So what I'm saying is that the human race has been overtaken by extraterrestrial demonic forces, which now have taken over and commandeered the whole human family. And we are now, as a human family on the earth, put under arrest. We can no longer enjoy peace and happiness and prosperity and happiness of being alive, to enjoy children, to enjoy a family, to enjoy life. You can't enjoy anything. You better be in compliance or you're going to prison. And it's a very dark and evil and filthy place where even your religious institutions are raping your children. Your governments, your institutions for running the planet are corrupt beyond belief. So I think whoever it was that originally created us are here, or they're coming back, or they've come back, and somewhere along the line there's going to be some kind of a power play where those who created us are going to confront those who have raped and destroyed us. And, well, that's the story in the Bible, God's kingdom coming and the angels with Jesus coming back to fight Satan. Well, those are just metaphors for something that's in fact happening. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there is something like a heavenly force coming to protect mankind, or to take us back and to protect us.
Well, Jordan, you look at the story of your life from pretty much day one. When you came to Los Angeles at 19, you were called. It seems like you're part of the heavenly saintly crowd, that I would say, and you were called from day one, and you've never wavered from the truth. And I also feel like I've been through my dark episodes in my life.
Yeah, we all have.
I feel some. Yeah, and I feel some of it was the mind control and just never having a teacher to teach me, because my dad was an alcoholic, so I kind of went down that route. But I woke up and I came to the truth and the light, and my morals and my ethics won't waver, and I won't be bought off like some of these. It just won't happen. I'm one of those guys that'll go to the gallows if needed be. I'm not going to be stupid and say something that I hope will not jeopardize anything that the powers that be have planned. My goal is just to, while we can speak, is to speak. And I see other people saying things, and what I feel I could say, this is old news, kind of what we're talking about, but it's not. And people need to understand that. Do you feel like you're part of that other entity that's part of the light and the good that's going to come?
Well, I'll tell you what, I paid a hell of a price all my life. And I can't imagine why I spent 50 years doing it the hard way, with no computers, no help, no money, no nothing, living every day to learn, question, research, talk to people. I was giving lectures about this kind of stuff back in 59, 60, 61. I was writing articles about the secret societies and the occult orders behind world religions and demon worship and devil worship and biblical subjects and political subjects back in the 60s and early to mid 60s. And so I've been involved in this all my life, and I don't know why. I have no idea. All I know is that I've had way too many experiences, and I've been led to do what I do. And I will tell you, it has not been a happy life at all. And I don't mind saying that I'm looking forward to quietly leaving soon, because I've had enough. I've put in, I've served my time, so to speak, and I've just come to a point in my life where I am so tired, physically, mentally, and spiritually, at 72 years old, doing this for 50 years, and for 50 years doing what I'm doing, having most of the time Christians calling you every name they can think of, people lying about you, putting out stories on the web about you that are not true, and bearing false witness against your neighbor, but they don't seem to care. They just make up a story and put it out there. Why? To destroy Jordan Maxwell and his name and his work, because he doesn't love the Lord. And the same thing, and we call these people fundamentalist Christians. Well, that's it. We got the fundamentalists in Judaism. They're saying kill all the Gentiles, kill everybody. We are God's chosen people, and we call them fundamentalists. Well, you got the same thing in Islam. They're saying anybody that doesn't love the Lord, Allah, cut off their heads and kill their children. And we call them fundamentalists, Al-Qaeda and fundamentalists. Well, hell, that's what we got in America. We got fundamentalist Christians. Now, if they can't kill you, thank God we got some protections here against you just going out and raping and killing a person. That's called a crime. Well, if they can't do that, normally they would, because that's what they did in Europe. The Catholic churches went around and murdered and raped and plundered and hung people at the stake and burned them at the stake and killed thousands at a time during the Inquisitions and during the Reformation. But in America, you can't do that, so at least we've got some modicum of protection for a human being to speak, speak what they want to say and not have to worry about having your head cut off or your children raped. And so, I think that, unfortunately, we have lost all of our protections, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that I believe that the human race, especially the people of America, but it applies to the whole human family, I think that all peoples on the earth are like, in my mind, like the animals grazing on the Serengeti plains of Africa. They're out there by the thousands in the sunshine, feeding and eating the grass and taking care of their own and their children, but never realizing that the lions are organized. There's only about 10 of them, but they're organized and they're hungry, and they're slipping up quietly, and they're organized to do it together. All 10 are working together, and they know what they're going to do. They know they're well organized, and they're doing it quietly in the grass so you don't see them. And while the herds of thousands of animals are out there and have no idea in the world what's coming until they make their move. And when they make the move, then the animals are in a stampede. Everybody's trying to get out of the way and hope that the lions will eat somebody else and leave me alone. And so, that's where we are.
They seem to be, you bring this up, and another vision came to my head, Jordan. I watched a movie this past weekend. It's called Hunger Games. It was really, really popular with the kids, and it sold out. There was lines around the movie, but it's about the show where everybody's sectioned off in different camps, and they're like camps by number, and literally there's no electricity. Everything's gone. It looks like Agenda 21. I'm sure you've seen maps of that. Yeah, so basically everybody's in these different divisions, and they go, I'm from camp, this camp and this camp. And every year they have a sacrifice where each person, there's two people from each camp, a boy and a girl, a man and a girl. They have to be like 18 or something, and they go and they fight to the death in almost like a little jungle area.
What is Hollywood telling you?
It's programming us. They're getting us ready for the future.
You got it. I mean, what else can you say? That's what they're doing. That's what Hollywood does. They do. And Dick Gregory said it best. Hollywood does three things. They tell you what your masters who own the earth, they tell you what their masters have done in the past, what they're doing now, and what they're getting ready to do. So it's all in movies. All you got to do is go back and watch all the movies, and they're telling you what the powers that be did a long time ago, what they're doing now, and what they're getting ready to do. And so, I've tried to think that, where does this all come from? Well, if you go back to Europe and England and Europe, that's the white man's establishment in Europe. And the white man's establishment in Europe was called Druids. The ancient Druids were among the Druids. They were the powers that be in Europe, and in the Druid system, one of the most important symbols for their power was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of hollywood. And so the whole system is a druidic magical system of slavery and ignorance and sex and drugs, and it's an incredible story of how the human race is being ushered into a dark place, and they have no idea in the world what's coming. So I've been trying to do.
Will anybody be allowed, Jordan? You know, I'm not someone who's going to kiss someone's boots, but will it be like, okay, these guys get it, they're enlightened, they could manage themselves, and these guys are we just all going to be decimated because we're...
No, they already have a definite operation in plan, and the definite operation is if you're not, George Carlin said it best, the guys who are running the planet, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And so if you're not in the club, then you will be eventually on your knees in a concentration camp. It's coming. There will, and that's why I always tell people, I hear all of these people talking about the age of Aquarius, and there's going to be so much egalitarianism, and there's going to be all these wonderful things. We'll be free and have all these wonderful things happening for the human family in the age of Aquarius. And I'm saying, look, the only light at the end of the tunnel is a train coming. You better go back and do your homework and find out what the age of Aquarius is really all about. It has nothing to do with what you think it does and the things you've been told. There's definite connections in the age of Aquarius with some very dark and evil stuff that's coming. So, I mean, I could sit and talk for hours about the implications of that.
Yeah, that seems like a whole new show in itself. And again, you're going to be on in a few weeks. Again, we'll talk about some other things and get into something like that, and maybe some banking, because I own a website called loansafe.org. I've been helping people for 7 years through foreclosure and so forth. So that's a thing in itself. I feel like the whole world's like frogs in a pot right now. And
Look, I've said this, and you've heard it, and probably a lot of people have heard it, but I'll say it again, that if you have, as an example, what I'm trying to say is if you have a two-story building and you're going to put a lot of weight on the second floor, like printing presses or whatever, a lot of heavy equipment, if you're going to do that on the second floor, you better go downstairs first and get a building inspector to go up on the ladder and pull the ceiling tiles away and look at the foundation of that second floor to see if it's going to hold that kind of weight. So what you're doing is you're standing under the foundation you're going to build on. And this is where we get our word understanding, because if you don't stand under the subject, you don't know anything about it. You better go downstairs and understand what's going on. So if you haven't done your homework and you haven't got the faintest idea what the words and the terms and the symbols and the history is, you better go back and do some homework, because you are not in the same world that everybody else is in. You better open your mind up, because your mind's like a parachute. It don't work if it's not open. You better open your mind up and find out where you really are and what's really going on the earth and where it's heading. So the days of sitting around drinking beer and partying and watching a basketball game are real soon going to be over. But I would add this, but there's going to be the light end of it. The happy part is that there will be plenty of television with basketball and football in prison. When you're in prison, at least they'll let you sit and watch basketball in prison. But that's what you're heading for. You're heading for a dark, evil world. The guy who wrote 1984, back in 1948, George Orwell, wrote a book called 1984. And they asked him in an interview, what did he really feel was going to be the world of the future? They read his book. It was very scary, frightening, that there was going to be a totalitarian dictatorship over the earth. But what did he really feel was going to, the world will be like in the future? And he said in his interview If you want an idea about what the world's going to look like, just picture in your mind a military guy with an iron boot on the face of a child. That's what's coming for you. An iron boot on the face of a child. So in other words, he was saying the human race is, we're a bunch of children. We haven't got the faintest idea what's going on. But one day the come down's going to come down on us, and it's going to crush the human spirit. It's going to crush the human desire for logic, for knowledge, for wisdom, for understanding. We're going to be crushed as humans, and we're going to be crushed under the heel, the iron boot of government. You will be in compliance, or we will taser your pregnant wife with a baby. We'll beat you in the head with clubs because you will be in compliance to the Führer in Berlin. And if we catch you thinking un-German thoughts or talking about un-German things, your neighbors will contact the police, and you will be dealt with immediately as a subversive. And so goes freedom and liberty and justice for all. It's gone. It's over. We've lost it all, and that's why I know that what's coming for the world you don't want to know, and that's why I'm hoping that there is a God who's going to do something to protect and save the human race. And I think there's going to, because I think when I see young children, beautiful children, and young ones, and young innocent parents getting married and having children, I think that the God who has created us will not leave us in the hands of these rapist, murdering thugs that have come here from somewhere else in the universe and are trying to destroy God's creation. So I think that, you know, it sounds like a Christian, but I think God is going to step in somewhere along the line and do something. And I don't know what God is, because I'm not sure who created us, but whatever it is, we'd be a bit surprised if something big is coming down the tubes real soon for us on the earth. I got a gut feeling something is getting ready to happen.
Yeah, and if that happens, of course, it's of course not going to be pretty as well, because there's a lot of people that aren't going to like that, and the powers that be that are in power,
they're not going to like it either.
And there's going to be a war, and we'll be in the middle of it.
Well, Jesus said, the slave is no greater than the master. What they have done to me, they will do to you. For many will look with their eyes, but not see, and will listen with their ears, but not hear, and with the heart not get the sense of it. But what they have done to me, they will do to you. Well, that's the name of the tune.
And we'll leave it at that. Jordan Maxwell, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I appreciate your time. If you want to visit Jordan Maxwell, go to his website, see his work, jordanmaxwellshow.com. Thanks for your time, Jordan. It was great. We did a good hour.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.